Hey, thank you so much for watching, listening. Oh my goodness, I have a really fun interview for you today, my new friend, Amber Leah. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Totally stoked. Normally, I'm all jumping in behind the scenes and asking all, and then they always tell me, stop, save it for the interview. So tell us a little bit about, this is my first time to meet you too, within the last 4 minutes, I think.
Exactly. We're new friends.
We are. And you're from LA, but what else?
Yes. Well, born and raised in Los Angeles, which is kind of rare. Most of us that are in LA, it's like a stopping place as we're passing through somewhere else, or we've been born and raised, in some other part of the world even, and then we come to LA. But I have 4 sons, and they are 5th generation in Los Angeles, which is a really big deal. But we plan to move to Tennessee sometime in the next 6 months or so. So it'll be a big change for us.
That's a huge change, California to Tennessee.
It is. We had to pick a state that was going to be at least within striking distance of a beach, because that'll be the hard part for us, being Californians. We love our beaches.
And how far is a beach when you move to Tennessee? Because in my mind, there's not really beaches around Tennessee.
So on the Gulf is kind of the closest spot, but there's some beautiful beaches in Florida. So they tell us about 5.5, 6 hour drive from where we'll be. Yeah.
And do you go to the beach now a lot?
We do. We kind of feel like we're, beach bums for sure. And we do go even through the winter just because it's beautiful, not necessarily when it's sunny out, but we're the people that go just to even splash around when it's really cold out.
You get in when it's cold out?
We do. The kids do. We wear wetsuits, so it's not quite such a shock. But yeah, we've got the polar bear dip thing down.
So what are your favorite beaches near LA?
So Santa Monica is our favorite, but really all along the coast is beautiful. You kind of can't go wrong, but we're Santa Monica people. And actually we've been going to the same spot for about 100 years, our family, the same kind of location there on the beach.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And you have 4 sons. Then what's the ages for them?
So Oliver is 14. And then we have Quinn. He is 12. He thinks he's, counting the days down to that 13 marker here by the day. But then we have Oakley, who is 10. And then our happy surprise baby Quaid just turned 5.
Okay.
So
14, 12, 10, 5.
Yes.
That's fun. So you got basically elementary and you're coming into high school.
Yeah, we've got preschool. So Quaid's still in preschool. And then we have all the way up to high school. And I've been homeschooling the kids for the last several years. So we've kind of done a little bit of everything. Christian private school, public school, and homeschool, just kind of whatever fits the season at the moment. But they're great boys. They're really diligent learners, and we're keeping them.
Yeah, you're not return to sender.
No, we're not going to return to sender, not yet. So far, so good.
So do you like to homeschool, do you do it all at the same time? Or do you pick this one needs to go here, this one needs to go, what do you do? How do you do
we
that?
Start off all together in the morning. We actually have a Bible verse that we'll do on a weekly basis. We choose a different verse each week. We kind of talk it out as a family. They write that out, and then they have their classwork set up that's kind of their independent work, and they're really good about working through that at their own pace. And then there are a couple subjects that we do all together. Science and history, we do a couple times a week for a longer segment, and we do that together. But then they have different levels of work that they do related to that subject. And then they each have different things that they do independently online and some things like that. So we're kind of in a rhythm. It's nice.
Yeah.
My only issue is that I've really got to work this next year on getting them out of their pajamas earlier in the day. Sometimes they just wear them for a couple days at a time. So we get a little loosey-goosey, but that's one of the blessings of homeschooling.
Yeah. And do you have them doing sports and some of that outside stuff? Because you did cross country in college.
I did, yes. And my husband played rugby, which is not for the faint of heart. Yeah, super fun. He didn't tell me that he wanted to build his own rugby team when we got married. So that's what he was working on with these 4 boys. But yes, they're all athletic. They love sports. My oldest is convinced that he's going to be a preacher and a professional baseball player.
Nice.
And my second boy is really obsessed with soccer, and he's really talented at that. And then the other 2 boys kind of float between soccer and baseball.
Fun.
We all love to swim.
Fun. So, and does your husband still play rugby?
Occasionally he plays in an old timers game with alumni. And we prepare ahead of time with ice packs and bandages for afterwards. But it's a lot of fun. He's looking to maybe finding a league at some point where he can get the boys in it. I'm a little more hesitant to do that, but I'm trying to trust.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you know what position he plays?
No idea.
The reason I ask is because, like, I dated a guy that played rugby in college, and his position, he was a hooker.
Okay, yeah.
So I dated a hooker.
Okay, that's always fun. That's a conversation starter.
I know. You're like, what?
Yeah, well, Guy and I met in a hot tub, so that sounds a little racy as well. But it was very innocent. It was a church event, believe it or not. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
so
really cool.
hookers and hot tubs.
Sweet.
It is what it is.
That's so great.
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And Amber, you've written a couple books. You like to write.
I do like to write. I do. Yes, I started out blogging just to kind of have an outlet as a busy mom at home.
Yep.
I had been an English teacher for about 10 years and loved that, but stepped away from it when God started blessing us with our boys. And just found myself really getting into that cathartic experience again of writing, and then just wanting to share with people what God was doing in my life and what he was teaching me in these different stages of my life. And that morphed into the opportunity to write some books. Yeah.
And how many books have you written?
So there are 5 full-length books, and then I've written a little Bible study series for parents to do with their kids called a Study Buddy Bible Study Guide series, and there's 4 of those. And then I've written like a little potty training book and some little things like that, but mostly 3 books in the parenting space, 1 in the marriage space, and then in health and wellness.
Yeah. And the health and wellness is your newest one, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And that's only come out recently. What's that one all about?
So Food Triggers, Exchanging Unhealthy Patterns for God-Honoring Habits is that book. And really, it's about having a different kind of mindset about what it means to be healthy physically and how that connects to our spiritual walk, which is a piece that I think a lot of us were missing, that I was missing for a long time, is really dealing with a lot of food triggers and issues that were making me physically unhealthy, but that were really just indicative of some spiritual holes in my life. And God got my attention, and I started to go on a health journey, released 85 pounds, and kept it off for years, and just really want to, again, pay it forward and help people. My other books, same thing with the parenting. I'd had some real struggles with anger and frustration in my parenting. God brought me through, refined me, and I wanted to share that with others to help them have hope as well. So everything I write is really about, it's very personal, and it's something I've experienced and still in the journey of as well. Yeah.
And then coming back to teaching English.
Yes.
So I think you probably like to read.
I love to read, yes.
Right? I mean, there's kind of goes hand in hand.
Yes.
What are your what's your top favorite 3 books?
Okay.
I know you're like, how do I do
Great question. I know. Well, and it's a mix between fiction and nonfiction, because I love Shakespeare, anything Shakespeare. One of my favorite fictions. I love classics. So Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte is my favorite novel.
Yeah.
But I love, it's so hard to pick, but I think one of the most instrumental books for me was a book by Jerry Bridges called The Fruitful Life. And just really about living out the fruit of the Spirit in your everyday life in very practical ways. That was really a book that I try to read at least every couple years. Yeah.
And what's the most recent book you read?
So the most recent book I read is Relentless by John Bevere.
Okay.
Yeah.
And most recent fiction that you've read?
Most recent fiction that I've read, well, actually, I just reread The Lord of the Flies by William Golding, which is a book I taught and have just not touched it in probably 8-9 years, but would read it every year for a long time. And so I like to go back and just revisit some of my favorites.
Yeah.
So
are you having your boys read that?
Not yet. Pretty soon. The little ones won't be ready for it.
Right.
Oliver probably next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
And last question, what's your favorite food?
Oh, well, I would say eggs, believe it or not.
Really?
I love eggs as omelets, scrambled eggs. My husband makes a fabulous Spanish-style omelet with some ground spicy turkey and some avocado slices on there. So really healthy, but super flavorful. That's kind of my go-to meal if I've forgotten to put something out. We're not sure what we're having.
Yeah.
We're having Mexican omelets
Some
for
eggs,
dinner.
right? Some kind of eggs.
Yes, exactly. Some
Very
kind of
fun.
eggs.
Very fun. Nice. Well, thank you so much for watching. And ask you this question: what is your favorite way to eat eggs? You're like, what? I know. Well, that could be a whole lot of things. That could be egg salad. That could be hard-boiled eggs, because those are a nice little contained
portable
quantity. You could do omelettes. That's how the French like to say omelette, whatever. But what's your favorite way to eat eggs? And you're like, I don't like eggs. Well, maybe you do like fake eggs. That's what I call them, just the ones that with the protein
Yes,
without the
yeah.
little yolk thing. Anyways, lots of ways to think about eggs. How do you like to eat your eggs? Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. That's the question I want you to answer. And finally, don't forget you want to hit the notification bell right there so that we can keep you posted on content. And here is your concluding joke, which is really fantastic. And it fits hand in hand with the whole idea of reading. So what do you call it when you mix alcohol and American literature?
What?
American literature, right?
Yeah.
You call it Tequila Mockingbird.
I wish I had that one when I was teaching. That was good.
I know, you're like, that's pretty lame, Sarah. I know, but they always get better, I promise. Lots of tongue in cheek. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.